Question of the week. Who do you guys have in the Nuggets and Clippers series? I keep wavering between both of them, and it's really hard for me to predict right now. I have my prediction at the moment, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But who do you have in the series? Let me know below. All right, we are recording on Thursday morning. The game twos for each of the NBA playoff series are in the books. The home games are done, and the series are flipping to the road. And I wanted to do a quick check-in because, you don't want to overreact after game one. Who am I kidding? I just didn't have time. But we did learn a lot from these game twos, and so now I'm taking a macro look at each of the series, and we'll check in on each of them one on one. So the first one I want to talk about is actually before I even get to the individual series, there's a few observations that I've noticed from playoff games versus the regular season this year. And the first one, which I'm sure all of you have noticed, is the physicality. The referees are having a really hard time keeping the physicality in check. And it's become very evident because I'm sure, as you've seen, there have been a lot of calls where you're thinking, how is that a foul when you just let something even worse go on the other side? And unfortunately, it's tough to watch sometimes. And I hate referees with a passion from my playing days in most sports, and it's hard for me not to get angry at the refs. But I'm trying to have grace with them. I know it's not easy, but I'm sure you've noticed like the referee, their calls are not 100% consistent, and I think that's just because the physicality has stepped up a ton since the regular season. And of course, players are reacting harder. They're trying to get, each possession matters. So we'll give them a bit of grace. But definitely something I've noticed. The second thing is a little smaller. And this is something I would have gotten yelled at as a kid or as a player when I was younger. But I've seen so many transition pull-up threes in the past 5 days. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, my coach would have pulled me out of the game or just cussed me out in the middle of the game. You need to go to the rim and you need to go get an easy bucket. And instead, players are either going towards the rim and then spraying it out to the corner for a three, or they're just dribbling the ball in transition. No one's in front of them and they pull up for three. And sometimes, like I think I've seen m more of them actually go in than miss. But if you miss that, it's like that's that's such a dumb play. Like go get 2 points, go get an easier shot. That's like a 60%, 70% chance of making it rather than 35. So that's something else that I've noticed. Let me see. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, just the scoring is way down, and I have been betting on the player, like player over and unders the past couple days, and there's been a few games where I had like a four-player parlay, and none of them reached their the points line, and we're seeing those games that are like 87 to 98, 100 to 85. Like we haven't seen, aside from the OKC game, anything over 120 really. Hmm. I think in Indiana and Milwaukee game got there, but in general, the scoring is way down, and it's really coming down to who are the scorers on the team, and feels like most other players are being limited. But okay, let's talk about each of these series individually. I'll start with, and I'm gonna make a prediction for each of them. Start with the Pacers and Bucks series. This one I think is all about individual versus team. The Bucks have the best player. Giannis is trying to do everything he can, but you look at the box score at the end of the game, it's like Giannis 30 something in something in the teens for rebounds and almost 10 assists. And then you're lucky if you see another player with over 15 points, like Bobby Portis, I think had 20 something in game two. Dame's like he got to 17 or something like that. But other than that, I mean, actually, Kyle Kuzma showed up for game two. But really, it's very Giannis centric. And the Pacers, on the other hand, you go down the box score, looks like there's 10 players with over 10 or 12 points. and it's like death by a thousand cuts. They are going to go at you from all different angles, and whoever has the better matchup or is open on that particular play is going to get the ball. They're going to make something happen. And it really feels like to me it's coming down to team versus individual. We'll see what happens when the games go to Milwaukee. I don't think that that energy from the crowd is really going to keep Indiana from being high pace, high energy. So I think I mean, the Pacers are going to take this, whether it's in 5 games, maybe 6. I think Milwaukee can get one at home just to save some face, but this has Indiana written all over it. All right, going to the 2-7 matchup in the East, Celtics and Orlando. So this was a very interesting series. I uh, the first game, I was really pleased because Orlando was leading at half. Paolo Banchero was doing everything. He was multifaceted, scoring, making plays, and I thought, okay, this is going to be, they're not going to go down easily. But as time goes on, you realize that Orlando um, just doesn't have the shooting, and they have to work really hard for the shots that they even create or that they manufacture. Whereas the Celtics, they have they don't have to work as hard for their shots, and then everyone in the game can hit a shot basically. So they don't have to work as hard as Orlando does, and their percentages are higher. So over the course of time, they're going to just score more points. And while I think Orlando has some good defensive, prowess, the Celtics are good enough to overcome that. And I don't think the Magic's offense is really potent enough, diverse enough, high enough percentage shooting to get over the Celtics slump. So Celtics are going to win this in 5, maybe 4 games. Okay, on to the next. What do we have here? Oh, Memphis OKC. Let's get this one out of the way. So, what was I going to say? Yeah, historic win in game one, and Shea hasn't even really had to do anything. I think the Grizzlies are cooked. Maybe when they go to Memphis, they'll get a shot in the arm and put up a bit of a fight. But the Thunder just, it feels like this is a warm-up series for them. Mark Daigneault is really just fine-tuning everything and tightening the screws before they head into the next series, which is going to be definitely harder for them. But this is going to be over in 4, I'm pretty sure. Don't even know if the Grizzlies want to be there. Which is a good segue to the other 1-8 matchup in the East, and that's Cavs and Heat. The Heat are actually fighting and look like they deserve to be in these games. Between Davion Mitchell and Tyler Hero, and honestly, getting some tough calls, I feel like, and fighting through those. They actually have made it a game. Like game 2 was close. It was a 2-point game. Game one, I'm forgetting the range of the lead there, but um, they held um, Ty Jerome to 6 points, and they were when I tuned into the game for the fourth quarter yesterday, they were really locking him down and making it hard on the Cavs, and then Donovan Mitchell came to save the day. So while this is also going to be maybe a 5-game series, maybe the Heat can sneak one at home. Um, the Cavs are just better in each of the positions, honestly, and I commend the Heat for playing hard and trying and actually like making it fun to watch. But the Cavs are going to win this in 4 or 5. All right, on to a series that I've been following very closely, Lakers Wolves. This series so far has been about energy. We saw in game one, the Timberwolves came out with the energy just overwhelmed the Lakers at home. It was actually really scary because I thought it was something they were going to be able to do again in game two, and I thought the Lakers were gonna have a tough time dealing with that. Luckily, my favorite player, LeBron James, he did show up for game two, and they made sure to like show up from the start of the game. So they had doubled up the Timberwolves. I think it was 18 to 36, something like that, real early. And once again, it was the energy energy point, the Lakers came out with more energy in game two. And while they had to kind of like really fight to secure that win in game two, they did that. And I'm interested to see how the Lakers will respond in Minnesota because the Timberwolves, I think Minnesota's like they have a lot of energy in that stadium, and it's going to be on. It's the Lakers are going to have to create their own energy and try to match that and not get overwhelmed, or else I think that could be a fast game as well. So my prediction there, and oh, one thing on the energy is you guys might have seen this as well, but there was a video showing that I saw a couple weeks ago of Luka Doncic in his rookie year, the dunks that he had in that year. And he looked so athletic and was covering so much ground. And I've been thinking about that video for the past, like, since I've seen it and then watching him now. And he's so much more, I mean, he's very stable and on balance and still effective. But I'm just wondering, like, man, do you think he's ever going to be able to get back to that point where he can just go by a guy and take off on one leg and throw it down over someone? I don't know if we're going to see that really. Does most of his damage below the rim now, but it's not like it's been a decade since then. And maybe it's the weight part of it. Maybe he just is more controlled. I don't know. But when the Timberwolves are coming at you at 100 miles an hour and you're Luka Doncic, who's slowed down in the past couple of years, I think that's going to be a big factor, like how he handles that speed. Um, I'm taking Lakers. I'm taking them in six, though. I don't think. I think the Timberwolves are going to shoot themselves in the foot a few times. And I just trust in LeBron James and Luka Doncic and JJ Redick swearing up and down the court. Just kidding. He's doing great. All right. Clippers and Nuggets. What a series. This is the reason I wanted to ask you guys for your opinion on who's going to win this and why is because there's so many factors here that I was thinking about. If you had, I mean, in the beginning, I was thinking, oh, Nuggets have the best player. Clippers are going to flame out. James Harden's not going to play well, and Kawhi, I don't think is going to make it through the series. Like just going off history. And so I thought, okay, Nuggets are going to be all right. But the Clippers look really good, and James Harden is playing great. Kawhi is playing amazing. Ivica Zubac is actually a force on both sides of the ball. And then they have people like Norman Powell, who we know can score 24 a game, and Chris Dunn and Jones Jr., who are making it tough. Like they have a deeper team. Even Nick Batum coming in and making threes where I just love seeing this. He's in the corner, someone hits him, the ball hits him right in the shooting bucket. He doesn't even come down. He just goes straight up with it. He gets a shot off in zero point 0.4 seconds, it feels like. So the Clippers they look really good. And then on the other side, Jokic, it feels like he is kind of at like the peak of what he can do as a one-person show. Yes, he has Jamal Murray, and yes, he has Aaron Gordon, but Russ is like, yeah, you don't know what you're going to get from him. But I actually think it's mainly positive, and especially so far because he's playing against his old team. But I think not having a real head coach in this situation is tough for them because Nikola Jokic, it feels like he's running the team, like he's the player coach. You see him, I've seen him more in the past two games yelling at his teammates and telling them where to go and, picking up the clipboard and timeout and drawing up plays than I have before. And I've watched a decent amount of him. Um, he's holding people accountable. He's having to create everything on offense. And there's not really possession that goes by where he can just kind of sit out, where like James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, they can kind of play on their half of the court and make something happen there. But it just feels like I'm this is a long-winded way of me saying I'm taking the Clippers in this series. Even though I love Nikola Jokic, I want them to win. But the Clippers, I think, are really really strong on offense, and they're playing fine on defense. So to see the Nuggets have to really go this like dig this deep to just split at home, and they could have been down 0-2. I think that's going to be it's going to be tough for them to win on the road, and the Clippers have shown they can play hard in Denver. They're going to get another one there if they have the chance. So I think the Clippers are going to win that series, as much as it pains me to say. Um, all right, we have two more: Detroit and New York. I love this series. I think, you know, Detroit is in a similar position as the Clippers, where Detroit could have won game one. It was close. They just let go of the rope at the end of the game one. And, in game two, they won the game despite Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. shooting like 1 for 14 from three. And you can argue on the other side, like Karl Anthony Towns didn't even show up. So which of those is going to show up in Detroit in the next game? I would put my money more on the shooters of Detroit than Karl Anthony Towns, like really putting up numbers. I hope he does because I really like the Knicks and I want them to do well. But Detroit is coming, and Cade Cunningham is quickly becoming one of like I have grown to like him a lot now just from two games. I haven't even watched him that much, but he just is kind of remind me of that Luka Doncic video of him when he was younger. He's athletic, he's on balance, he's big, he knows how to use his body, and he's playmaking all over the place. And he's not afraid of these guys, which is sweet. He's super confident. And I think in Detroit, that arena is going to be going crazy. And the Knicks are they're just one fluke play away from Jalen Brunson being out for the series. Josh Hart was already grabbing his elbow. They just aren't that deep, and I fear that that's going to cost them over the long run. And Detroit is going to make this a long series. So, I kind of have Detroit winning this. Sorry, New York. I love you guys. I love visiting New York. Um, all right. Warriors and Rockets, the series that I cared the most about. I watched game two yesterday. The Rockets have been just pissing me off, honestly. Um, it just feels like they're a bunch of fake tough guys. Tari Eason throwing a towel at someone yesterday. Okay, man, nice job. Dylan Brooks, yeah, you made a shot, and your way of like trying to stick it to the Warriors is you're gonna jump in Draymond Green's way as he's going by you. All right, dude. And Alperen Şengün, I've gained some respect for him the last two games. I haven't watched that much of him. I didn't realize how like he's tall, but he's a wide guy and he gets low and his center of gravity is really low and he just looks like a giant out there, honestly. He's not just like freakishly tall like Wemby, where he looks really skinny. He's big, but and he's wide and he's proportionate. But he has also been making me angry, angry every time he goes to the rim, every time he puts up a shot, he's yelling like, "Hey!" And it's like, dude, you're the biggest guy out here. Stop freaking baiting the refs for fouls. Um, and I also feel like Ime Udoka is a fake tough guy too. Sorry, Rockets fans and Houston fans. I feel like that the team is just like the Rockets look like a bunch of chickens with their head cut off running around out there. Fred VanVleet hasn't been able to do shit yet. He wants to talk smack. Sorry, getting a little bit losing my composure a bit. But of course, Jimmy goes down game two, and dude, you land on your tailbone like that, that is going to stay with you for 3 weeks in my opinion. You feel it every time you move. Um, you tighten up really soon after that kind of injury happens. They're doing an MRI on him today. We'll see what happens, but he might be out for a few games. In which case, like, I kind of think Steve Kerr made a poor choice to bench Jonathan Kuminga for the last like two games before the end of the season because he's going to be needed if Jimmy is out. And I think like maybe they can get back on good terms, but I think that really damages your player's confidence if you're playing other guys before him where you've been in the rotation before them during the regular season. I don't know. I'm kind of worried about what they're going to do. It all comes down to the Jimmy injury, how long he's going to be out. I'm still taking the Warriors. I think because Steve Kerr has such a good system, and it was you could see it yesterday. This was a coaching battle, like Ime Udoka being savvy and challenging an out of bounds call to try and get the foul call, and then Steve Kerr like doing the hack of Steven Adams. It was the coaches really had their hands on the levers yesterday, and if that's going to continue to be the case, I think Steve Kerr is going to win that. So I'm taking the Warriors. But yeah, all the game twos are in the books. These series are moving to the road. It's been really fun. This is my favorite time of year. Every night we have a couple games going on, and it's I've had to really make time to watch these, but I love it, and I hope you guys are enjoying it as well. We are going to check back in maybe after these road games are over. But until then, enjoy, take care of each other, be safe, and I'll talk to you soon.